Do you have a door like this that currently has no trim on it? Or do you have a door with build-a-grade trim like this on it that you just want to replace? Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to install this modern looking trim the easiest way possible. So let's get started. So currently I'm renovating this room. I have all the old trim off this door. I had a little mishap up here with some of the drywall ripping off. This can be patched up, but also the casing we're gonna be putting on is actually gonna cover most of that. A key factor when removing old trim is that you wanna make sure you run a blade or a scraper up and down the sides of the trim so that you have a nice flush surface to the wall and to the current door. The other thing you want to make sure to do is remove all the old nails. Do not hammer them in because that can cause problems with putting new nails in later. So make sure you remove any of the old nails. As you can see, some holes floating around here where there were old nails. Get all those old nails removed and you'll be set. So the first thing we need to do now is start measuring. I'm gonna take my tape measure, go from the bottom of the floor here all the way up to the top, and we're gonna go about 1/4 inch off this wood right here, off the door casing itself. So we're gonna go 81.5 inches on the right, and make sure you're writing all this down as well, because I know myself, I'd forget these measurements right away. And on the left is gonna be 81.5 inches as well. So now that we have those two measurements, I'm gonna go downstairs and make my first cuts. We're at my garage now. I got my 1x3 board laid up, ready to go. If you want, you can also use a 1x4 board if you want some thicker trim around your door. But again, it's your preference. So now all we need to do is take those measurements we made, correlate them to the board, and start making our cuts. 81.5 inches. A miter saw is a big help when doing a project like this. However, if you only have another kind of saw, it'll still work. You need to measure 81.5 inches again. Now let's take our two boards and go inside. So we're back in the room now. You want to make sure you have a 15, 16, or even 18 gauge pin nailer or some sort of nails to fasten these boards to the wall. When doing this, I always like to kind of start at the top, kick my board in, send my first nail through. And while you're nailing this, you want to maintain a constant pressure, and you also want to make sure you get the nails on the wood of the door itself as well. If you have a nail that didn't fully set, like right here, just take your hammer, give it a tap, and just keep working your way down the board. So the first board's up, now we're gonna mount the second board. When it comes to mounting the second board, you wanna make sure you have a long level, because you wanna make sure the trim that sits on the top is gonna be nice and level. So just move it to where it's level. It's saying it's level right there, and sink your first nail in. We also wanna check it with our eyes. Now that we know this side's nice and level, just work our way down nailing. So now I need to make my top measurement. We're gonna go from edge to edge of board. This is 35 3/8. So now that we have that measurement at the top, let's go downstairs and make our last cuts. So we're back down at the miter saw. Our measurement was 35 3/8. However, we want a 1/4 inch overhang on both sides of that trim. So we wanna bring it up to 35 7/8. So let me mark that out on this 1x6 piece of trim we got. If you want to go smaller, you can go 1x5 or even 1x4 if you want. It's your choice. So with this board, we want to just double check that measurement, and we're right on 35 7/8. If you want, you could just leave the top with this piece of trim right here. However, if you want to add a little extra, let me show you what to do next. You're going to want to grab a piece of 1x2 trim and add another 1/2 inch to the measurement that you just cut on the 6-inch board. So it was 35 7/8. Now we're gonna go to 36 3/8. So now I'm gonna lay the boards here and just double check the overhang. We have a slight overhang, which is exactly what we want. Let's bring them upstairs and mount them. The wife did not like how tall this board was, so we're gonna cut it down a hair and do it again. Took 1 whole inch off the board, let's try that. So I'm back upstairs now. Let's set this board on and see how it looks. All right, so this is all lined up right now. We got a 1/4 inch overhang on both sides. When doing this, I like to mark where the overhang needs to be. So the next step now is take some wood glue and lather it on. To lather that wood glue on both sides of the board, take your board, set it in place. Take your nail gun and send them in. Now that we have our nails set, wipe that excess glue off. And I will say that that glue is essential because it fills in the small gaps and cracks that you're gonna have here, so that later on, when you need to caulk and stuff, you can just sand it a bit and don't really even need to worry about caulking that seam. So lastly, we need to mount this piece to the top. Same thing, we're gonna use wood glue. Now take your wood, slide it up like so. And again, make sure you have that 1/4 inch overhang. And for this, I'm gonna be using a pin nailer. And lastly, don't forget to wipe the glue. So now that the top border's on, we gotta pop any nails in that are sticking out. We got a few of them. Just grab a nail punch and a hammer. Now that all the nails are pushed in, we need to take some wood filler and fill in all the nail holes. To fill in the nail holes, I'm just gonna use this plastic wood made by DAP, and it turns to a natural wood color because it's currently pink, so it lets you know when it's dry. And all you need to do is just push the wood filler in the hole, give it a wipe, do the whole door. One thing I wanna point out, to get a nice flush seam, just take some of that wood filler and push it in. Now you have that wood glue there that helps fill it in, but that just adds a little bit so that you can sand it back down when the time comes. All right, so all the nail holes are filled in now. We're gonna let that dry. The next step now is caulking the corners. When it comes to caulking, I like to use the better quality stuff like this DAP Alex Flex stuff. It can be used on crown molding and stuff, and it's just got really good adhesion and good flexibility for movement. Put the caulk in the caulk gun. I'm gonna caulk all the corners and crevices and any cracks that I see. Now, when it comes to caulking, I will remove this, but I'm gonna leave it on currently because I need to leave this door shut and locked because I got a 2-year-old running around the house. When it comes to caulking around hinges, you can remove the hinges and caulk, or you can kind of do what I'm doing and just go around them. Now that everything's filled in with caulk, I'm gonna put my latex glove on and flatten and smooth everything out. There's one last place I think is crucial to caulk, and that's the top of the door. Most people don't do this because you're not gonna notice it, but it helps seal it up there and prevent any drafts or anything from getting in from the attic. So the holes are all filled and the caulking's all done. The last step we need to do before painting is sanding everything down, which the wood filler's still drying, so I'm gonna let it dry. Then we'll get to sanding it down and paint it. All right, so it's the next day. Our door's all dried and looking pretty good. Now we need to sand. When it comes to sanding, I'm gonna be using some 240 grit sandpaper, and I'll be putting it on this sander here. So now all you need to do is just start sanding. Also, make sure you have a mask. And if you have the option, hook it to a vacuum. Now that we got all our sanding done, we need to paint. So when it comes to painting trim, I like to go the easy route and I like to roll everything on. You can always pre-paint your trim and then do touch-ups at the end, but for a DIYer like myself, I just find it's more difficult to do that. In order to paint the trim, I'm gonna be using this product made by Woodster Pro. It's a 1/4 inch nap, and it's meant for smooth surfaces. I've never used this product before, however, I wanna give it a shot and see how smooth it makes my trim when I paint it. When it comes to the actual paint itself, I'm gonna be using some Sherwin-Williams paint, their Emerald Edition. This is a really expensive paint. We used it on all the other trim in our house, so we're gonna keep using it. However, it's your choice on what paint you wanna use. So let's start painting. All the trim's currently drying. I'm gonna give it 1 day, and tomorrow I'll come back and touch up the walls all around the trim so it'll have a nice seamless finish with the wall. Now that the painting's all done, this project is officially complete. Now if you like this style of door and the style of trim we did, make sure to give a thumbs up on the video and leave a comment down below letting me know that you like it, or leave a comment thinking on what I could have done better with this trim, because I gotta retrim my whole house. Now in regards to this room that I'm working on, I'm gonna have a full series on everything I did to this room, including trim work, accent wall, painting, you name it. There's gonna be a whole bunch of stuff and content up on my channel on what I did to this room exactly, so make sure to go check all those videos out. Thank you everyone for watching this video and giving me your support. It means a whole lot to me. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good rest of your day.